the New York Mets might be making moves, and we're thrilled that the manager of the Mets, Luis Rojas, is going to join us every week during the season. I've not yet had the pleasure to meet him or talk to him, at least on this show, but everyone says great things about him, and he's got a second crack at leading the Mets towards the promised land. Mr. Rojas, it's Craig and Evan. Good afternoon. How you doing today?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Great seeing you. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, I'm looking forward to do this weekly, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be good times. Listen, you know the first question. You know what everyone cares about. $325 million bones sitting out there. And I guess he hasn't said yes yet. Can you give Met fans any kind of update? Have you talked to Francisco, and where do you think we're at with all that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're that's everywhere in the news. I mean, every time I look on my phone, I see the headlines, right? And it's the talk everywhere. I am going to say this: it's not the talk. It's not the talk in the clubhouse. We do not talk about that. He doesn't talk about that. This guy, since he put a Mets uniform, all he's talked about is winning, and how to get his teammates better, how to get himself better, and that's basically it, man. Like, this guy's just out there trying to do his best every day to get a championship to the New York Mets. So. You know, it's been more than that.
There's an old thing in sports that I remember learning a long time ago. You never talk about another guy's money. It's a no-no. You don't do it. But this is a public story, as you know. Everyone's aware of what the offer is. I know Pete Alonso came out and said, give him $400 million. And he seems like, in a very short amount of time, it seems to me he's become not just one of the guys, but immediately, and I hate using this word, beloved by the other guys. Like, his personality is infectious. He's a positive guy, a high energy guy, face of the franchise type guy. So it seems like it's not going to be distracting at all because everybody wants him to get his money, right?
Well, I mean, you heard Pete yesterday. I think that says a lot from what you described. How you describe Lindor, and he's that guy. He's one of the guys. He is one of them. There's a lot in the room that have those qualities. I mean, he's a little different, just because it's the new guy coming in, but he has the attitude as if he's been here for years, and everyone is aware how young he is. Everyone's aware, his playoff experience and his status as a player as well. So a lot of that you put in the mix, and then his mentality towards every day in baseball. I mean, even in practice days, like, I don't know if you guys saw the video when they did that little celebration, like simulating the last
We saw it.
Yeah, just for the record, Craig had a big issue with it. I thought it was fantastic, just so we were on the record with that.
That wasn't planned. That was just definitely that evolved into that. I mean, we were having a practice and we wanted to simulate game speed, and we challenge everyone to get 27 outs and without making an error. And we're going to do things, at game speed. Like, we had Tony Tarasco whacking it from the left side, another coach whacking it from the right side. And, I knew it was going to get intense. I mean, that's a tough drill to do, by the way. You put in situations and things like that. And he was the one that got everyone like, hey, we're doing this. And next thing you know, we have people diving. I had the trainers were all tied up. The trainers were like closing their eyes and stuff.
I can imagine.
Catches.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a practice day. So he was the one that got things that high. Like, that's what he causes. So he's going to get players to, talk about him and be in his corner as far as like saying, okay, yeah, this is our guy. And me as the manager, every time I get asked about him, like, listen, he's helped me a lot too so far. He's only been around for 2 months now, since, he's joined and been in camp with us and things like that. So it's definitely infectious. It's definitely a presence. And, we enjoy every minute of it because he's making us better.
You dealt with a lot of distractions last year. First of all, your first season managing is a 60-game season with COVID protocols up the you-know-what. But the Cespedes stuff, the opt-outs, the injuries, it was not an easy first season. But the one thing you know about this, but you didn't get to deal with last year, are the fans. And that's where I think Francisco Lindor may have a problem. Like, I don't think there's going to be any issues with teammates. Like you said, they love him. They want him to get paid. But is that a conversation you'd have with him? Because I think right now, this is just me as a Met fan, and I'm not saying I'm going to boo him. I think he's going to hear boos if he doesn't agree to an extension. Is he aware of that, and is that something you talk to him about? Because you're familiar with New York. You've been around this organization. This is new for Francisco.
Well, this is what I think about our fan base. This is what I think about our media. And I'm going to share it right here. And this is the same message I delivered to Francisco and everyone else on the team. So regardless of the situation, I think the support is always going to be there. Everyone wants us to win. And, it's the same thing that Francisco wants. It's the same thing that everyone wants on the team and the franchise and the organization. So we're always going to give our best. He's going to give his best to do that. I don't think he's thinking that way, that he's going to probably get a negative response out of the fans. We haven't really talked about it. His energy has always been the same one. He's consistent with that. So, having a guy like that on this team that has injected so much already, along with the new acquisitions that we had in the offseason and the guys, with another year of experience, as I call them, the guys that have been here already, I think we're in a really good spot to do something special. So that support is what's expected. It's what's expected out of Francisco, out of everyone, and nothing more than that is what's said there. So, you said it at the beginning, there's some decisions here to be made. That's all and there's some conversations here. Then I don't think anyone else is in the middle of those except Francisco and leadership group and things like that. So that's that.
The first thing I've seen, which I love already, is you got this golden arm in Jacob deGrom. Every 5 days he should be out there. And I saw first turn around, you're going to do that. Is that something you'll try to do throughout the season, or will it be important to give Jake an extra day here and there, especially coming off a year in which he threw 68 innings as compared to his normal 200 innings?
Well, we'll look to do that. He likes to throw every 5 days. We know that at some point we may get in a stray of games. We will see what the response is. If we have to take measures or something. But right now that's the approach. For him to throw every 5th day, having this day off, the day after tomorrow, gives us the luxury of bringing him back. And then moving forward, you set up the rotation. And you think of different things and what can you do? Like for example, maybe having Lucchesi available out of the pen the first day to give us some depth. That first weekend, or even until the day that Lucchesi throws his bullpen. It's something that we can take advantage of, and then as well having Jay come back, that's even better. So we'll try to do that as much as we can. Of course, we will communicate with performance staff and our pitching coaches who have they have a bunch of experience dealing with things like this, especially after a year we just went through. Like you guys are saying, there's guys that know a lot more than I do about like arm care and different things and how they would respond, and that will definitely make the right recommendation for us, to take care and finish the season strong.
Is Lucchesi going to be, and I understand the numbers, like first time around, second time around, his numbers are great. Third time around, the batting average goes up 80 points, the OPS. Is that the main reason he's going to be used as a bulk guy most of the year? And do you see him exclusively in that role, or can he make starts as this season goes on?
He'll make starts. Even on the, this first one, we still haven't made the decision whether he's going to start or we're going to have an opener. I know that's the last thing we did in camp, but as we were approaching the final days of camp, that was our only chance to test it, because he was still fighting for the spot. You had Montgomery, Oswald, different guys that were fighting for that 5th man spot, and we wanted to see how he responded, because he's done it before, but we didn't know how comfortable he was. He would say yes, yeah, and I know these guys are all committed, but they're fighting for a spot. But we wanted to see it too. He will start some games, and he also, will probably have some openers, depending on which team we're facing. Is
there any other starter you do that with? Like, would David Peterson be served in that role, Taijuan Walker? Or is that something you'd only use with Lucchesi and maybe the other depth guys that you have, like Yamamoto or others?
We'll see. I can't say no. Right now, that's not a plan right now. But I can't say no if that's something that happens in the future, and then we fall into studying some things happening, and then we can recommend it to one of those guys. But the main thing is not to disrupt the routine they do, to start a game, because you don't want to mess with that and then have the worst version of a pitcher knowing what they can do. So that's kind of like when it comes from. Right now, no, but let's see what happens down the road.
Talking to Louis Rojas, we'll do every week throughout the season here as the Mets get ready to open up their season. National TV tomorrow night in Washington, and there's some COVID stuff going on with the Nationals. We'll get to that in a bit. Brandon Nimmo, Met fans spent the entire offseason telling the world how much they hated Brandon Nimmo as the starting center fielder, so I adopted him as my favorite Met for this year. You try to get Springer. Obviously, that didn't work out. He's with Toronto. Brandon said to us a couple weeks ago that he spent the majority of this offseason doing nothing but shagging fly balls and trying to figure out maybe how he could be positioned better and not play as shallow as he played or as deep as he played, blah, 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 blah. So my question now, having spent the last month with him, game situations, do you see a tangible difference in him defensively, which is the biggest bugaboo Met fans have about him?
Well, we did see a lot of improvement, and Brandon, and everybody that knows Brandon, we have a lot of people that work their butt off every day here with our team in the organization. Brandon's one of those that's at the top of the list, and I talked to him in the offseason. He told me what he was doing, and he brought it into camp, man. And I think, you got to give credit to Tony Tarasco. He's our new outfield base running coach, first base coach, and he worked really hard with him. They are talking about the positioning, but more than that, I think the drills, no false steps. I don't know if you noticed some of the highlights. Brandon made a couple of diving catches. He was tracking the ball well. He's putting his head down and turning, doing different things. So we may see an improved Brandon Nimmo in center. Well, you may see him in left too, because we have two guys there,
right?
That might be a little bit better center fielder than Brandon. So sometimes we might be moving, Brandon to left field because one of those guys is playing center.
I expect it. I mean, the one thing I learned about you last year watching you manage, and I liked it, is you went defense late. That's why we saw Andres Jimenez. We saw Nimmo shift to left. Marisnik was the guy who came in. So I expect the same thing. But here's what I'm curious about. Because I get it. Like, you guys have a one-run lead tomorrow night. Nimmo's going to left, right? I mean, it's obvious. Almora or Pilar come in. But here's the question. What are you doing with Dom Smith and Pete Alonso? Because I think we'd all admit, I love Pete. Dom Smith's a better defensive first baseman. So when you make the late defensive move tomorrow night, what are you doing? Is Alonso coming out of the game? Or is Dom coming out of the game? How are you doing that?
So, that's a really good question, just because it's different than last year because you have the National League game now. So right. A lot of, where you are in the lineup, the run game, you have also Alonso, who's playing really good at first right now. He played really good in camp. So all of that will come into play. We already made it public how bouncing Dom to first and left also can affect him down the line. So we should see whatever we are in the lineup, and we can double switch and maybe end up with one of the two. We will. But right now, I don't feel there's like a big gap there. I feel that Alonso played really good defensively in camp. So we got to go. We got to go into the season saying, like, Pete is our first baseman right now, and if we feel comfortable with him finishing there, he'll finish there. But if there's situations, I may say this to you. That's why the answer is right. It's not just like black and white. I may tell you that, but if we're in a certain part of the lineup where Dom is up the next inning, and let's say Brad Hand is already used, he's not going to come, and they're going to face a guy like Daniel Hudson or one of their stoppers, Rainey. Dom is going to face that guy. If it's a situation like that. So there's just a lot of scenarios now, a little different than last year, but we're pretty high with Alonso as far as like his defense. He worked really hard to win the offseason.
Let me ask you this. You're in an interesting spot yourself. We talk about the players and all that. The Beltran stuff happens. It happens. They got to make a decision, right before, pretty close to, the start of the season, who's going to be the manager, this and that. You get the crack at it, and it's an abbreviated season. This is going to be your first chance to be the manager for a normal, quote unquote, season, albeit, not as many fans, but you're going to get 162, knock on wood, right? And knock on wood, everyone plays to their potential, and you enjoy a successful ride. What was the experience like for you? Because you went through it pretty good last year. And how are you different as a manager now, having survived what you survived, there was no guarantee you were coming back to be the manager as the new owner came in and Sandy gets brought in. And what was that like for you? A, not knowing that you were coming back, and then when they came to you and said, we're going to give you a full year to really prove you're the guy, how are you different now as a manager?
Well, first, you're how everything just happened late, closing into spring training camp last year. We had to get moving, so I got a lot of help from different people just to make sure my message, as I got on the manager's position, was delivered immediately, and then some of the things that we were adjusting to our playbook were adjusted immediately as well. So we did that, and then having all this happen to the COVID and the stoppage, that was definitely, that made it tougher now. I felt things were going where we wanted them going at that point. And then when everything got disrupted, definitely for everybody. I mean, it's everyone can share their stories. So that made it really hard. And going into the short season, with all the protocols, it disrupted a lot of things.
Sure.
For a regular season. I mean, it started with 60 games, and then and all those other things that we had to adjust to. But we got the season through. Everything that needed to be done got done, but I did learn a lot. I think I grew up a lot as a man and as a coach, just being in that position, which now you're dealing more with the front office directly. That's something
what was the hardest part or the most surprising part? Like for guys that I want to be a manager, and listen, you guys all know baseball. It's not about whether or not you know baseball. Baseball is your life, which is why I always say, pick a guy that's made baseball his life. He could probably be a pretty good manager because he understands the ins and outs. So that's not up for debate whether or not you know baseball. What was the most surprising aspect of being a manager, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the most difficult part that maybe you didn't expect or see coming that now you just feel really comfortable or good about?
Well, the one thing immediately was, and I'm going to say this in the best way, it was the media. There's just a lot of media throughout the day, so I had to learn time management because he can pull you away from some conversations, some things throughout the day, especially with what we had last year, because we could only get into the ballpark at 2, which is 5 hours before the game time, which was a typical 7:10. So I had to learn to manage my time better, because that's something that I value a lot, is the communication with the guys, tell them where they are. So that immediately translated into the communication with the guys. So, with these guys, I know them for years now, and it's for me, it's easy to have the conversation, but still, these guys are the best baseball players in the world, and to have that conversation with a player and tell them, like, you're not playing tomorrow, or this guy's going to play more than you, or different things like that.
Right.
That's definitely not easy sometimes at the moment, or not even a week after, because it's almost like buying time, because the player still thinks he's really good and he should be there.
Right.
So
wow.
Those conversations are always tough, but I think is the best thing. And they appreciate it even on the long run.
You definitely had that
short term. It's just you get the responses, and sometimes
because they're good guys. They're proudful guys, and listen, no one.
And that's just natural.
Yeah, no one wants to be told you ain't playing.
You know what helps though, Luis, is last year you had to deal with that a hell of a lot more. I mean, with Yoenis Cespedes early on, even with Robbie Cano, I don't think you have that issue as much with the makeup of this roster. It's a younger roster. It's guys in their prime. That's got to make it a little bit easier, not having to deal with guys who, with all due respect to Robbie Cano and Yoenis Cespedes, I know Cano played well at times, they weren't the same guys. And I think one of the first things that jumped out at me is you were hitting Cano like 6th, and Met fans loved it, but that can't be an easy discussion with a guy who's had a resume like that.
Yeah, that was, and I had to let Robbie know. And, Robbie's response when we had that conversation was like, hey, sure, let's do it. And I explained the why. I always had a why for them, just not to, like, you're hitting 6, that's it,
right.
Dry. And then same with everybody. But I think this team, there's the same conversations that got to happen. I don't see much difference about the conversations not taking place. Now, the difference this year, once again, is going to be the National League, because you may not be in the starting lineup, but you gotta make sure you
Gotta be ready.
You're coming in.
Yeah,
you're coming in, and we have a platoon base. Like it's very much platoon. Like if you guys see our roster, it's lefty righty.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it will be like that consistently. We may see a matchup in a lineup. But we may see the lefties against the lefties at times, and things like that. So I will have to have those conversations with different guys that have years of baseball here, and they might take it well, they might not, but I am always going to be as open as I could be, let him know where my decision is coming from.
Do you right now, 25 hours away from first pitch against Max Scherzer, do you know the starting lineup you're going to put out there tomorrow night?
Well, I have two right now.
You have two?
Huh. Yeah, I have one, and they went to two.
Are they very different? Like, is there big differences between it, or is it like just really, one little tweak?
Not really. It's I wish I could reveal it to you guys.
Well, Luis, I got a fair deal. I got a very fair deal. I'm going to name you who's leading off, and as soon as I make a mistake with the lineup, the game is over, and then we don't know anymore. But if I keep naming the correct lineup, you let me go. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's not fair. I'm sorry. I never play. I'm not good at poker. I'll give it up.
Lindor's batting second, I heard.
Lindor's batting second. I know that. I know Nimmo, Lindor, Conforto, Alonso, 1 through 4. Is that accurate, Louis?
That's pretty close.
All right. By the way, did Steve Cohen ever buy you chicken parm and eat ravioli with you, or has that not happened yet?
No. Yeah, looking forward to it at some point.
Has he taken you out to dinner yet, or no?
No, we've had conversations.
Oh, this has to stop. This has to change right away.
I just met Steve in camp, and we spoke at the facility a few times. I met Alex, his wife, in camp, and these guys I think they're great, man. Since they joined the organization, they came on board. I mean, it's just been a lot of energy flowing, man.
Was she wearing the La Jefa shirt when you saw her, or no?
She was. That was pretty cool. and her, she spoke in English, Spanish, and yeah, that was pretty cool. She's got a great presence. It's like just lights up the room, man. That's but
everyone says she's a very special lady. Listen, it's a pleasure meeting you. We're zooming this call right now, and wish you the best of luck, and I hope you make the most of the opportunity. As a New Yorker, I obviously want the Mets, much like the Yankees, to do well. It all starts tomorrow night for you under the big Spotlight National TV.
Scherzer DeGrom. Doesn't get better than that, man.
And we look forward to this every week, so hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. And we look forward to getting to know you, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. See you next week, okay? You guys have a good night.
You got it. There you go. Luis Rojas, manager.